Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari So today we're speaking about the wives of the Brahmanas. This is from month of Damada or the month of Kartik. So if I read the Krishna book, it'll be too long. It'll be like 15 page, 10, 15 pages, it'll be too long to cover. I'm giving the summary of it. So these Brahmanas, there are different kinds of Brahmanas. There's a Brahmana Pandit and Brahmana Vaishnava. So Brahmana Pandit, they're too much into sacrifices, rituals, study of scriptures, and they're mainly into karma kanda activities. So karma kanda activities eventually come to the line of devotional service, pure devotional service, but it takes a very, very long time. In the Kali Yuga, not enough time. So the acharyas, they're given as a direct line of pure devotional service. So Krishna in his pastimes, he's Supreme Lord himself, so he has to teach a lesson to people in general in terms of what it means to fully surrender to him. So Krishna and Balram, they decided to go on the path. Jai Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki Jai. They decided to go on the path where there is not much food available. This was some distance away. And Krishna's plan was to give mercy to these wives of the Brahmanas. So, these wives of the Brahmanas, they didn't see Krishna personally, but they heard about Krishna from devotees who advanced. Just by hearing, their attachment to Krishna came. So, the cowherd boys on that day were very hungry. So they asked Krishna and Balram, can you arrange something for us to get, so our hunger will go away? So Krishna told them that you go to these Brahmanas who are doing these sacrifices. And Krishna warned them. He said, when you go begging, you should not be attached to the result. Some places you will get, some places you will not get. So they went, and being associated with Krishna, they knew everything about what the Brahmanas were doing. So they told the Brahmanas that in this particular level of sacrifice, we can accept your food. But the Brahmanas, being into the karma kanda, going to the heavenly planets, they couldn't appreciate the cowherd boys. They couldn't appreciate the advice. And they discussed amongst themselves to ignore them. So the cowherd boys, they got disturbed and they went back to Krishna and Balaram and said, they didn't respond. What should we do now? So Krishna said, you go to the wives of the Brahmanas. They are my devotees. So this is another lesson to learn. Because generally, it says how in the society, men lead the way generally, isn't it? That's generally the way, how it goes. Like, but we can see even women, they can become advanced devotees also. There's no impediment. So in this case, the women took advantage. They heard about Krishna. Just by hearing about him, they become advanced devotees. Because women have a soft nature to them, that they have a soft heart, that they can accept Krishna's teachings very easy. They have an emotional side and a soft nature also. They can easily accept the teachings very quickly. Because men have a tendency to be very hard-hearted sometimes. They have this thing where they want to do something and they want to change their views. So from this pastime, we can learn that lesson, that Krishna's mercy is open for everyone. There is no discrimination. It's just how open are we to receive the mercy. So in this case, the wives were open for the mercy and they got it. And another lesson we can learn from this pastime is pleasing the demigods is very difficult. Because if you please the demigods, you have to do big sacrifices with so much opulence. Otherwise, you can't please the demigods. Nowadays, people do put little puja to demigods in their home and like, but that's not the way you do it. To actually please the demigods, you have to do big sacrifices. And then in this way, they become pleased. And that's confirmed in the Nectar of Devotion. It says how when Krishna was on the planet 5,000 years back, the pastimes that he was doing within the time when he was on the planet for 125 years, like the Ras dance and playing with the cowherd boys and different leelas he was doing with the gopis, with Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, like that, with the animals. Even the demigods' wives, they were amazed by these pastimes. That the husbands, they were so attracted that even the wives couldn't control the husbands. So they were not happy that Krishna was doing his pastimes. That's why he says, in Prabhupada's quote, in Nectar of Devotion, this is why the demigods don't come down now. Now, but to please Krishna is very easy. He just wants your devotion. He's not asking anything. He just wants your devotion. So, you can offer water, fruits, vegetables, flowers, milk. He just wants your devotion from that point of view. Whatever you can give him through devotion, he'll accept. But the highest way of giving your devotion is taking to chanting Hare Krishna. Because it explained that even in deity worship, there's so many rules that have to be there. You have to be clean, you have to have a certain level of punctuality, timing, everything has to be in a certain way. But chanting holy name, there's not that many rules. Only rule is you do avoid offenses to devotees and you do avoid sense gratification. Now, even to do that is not so easy because of our conditioned nature, it's so difficult. So this is why the deity worship is there. So that we can become purified from the bodily platform. Then we can come to pure chanting eventually, where we can come to that stage where we can avoid sense gratification. And this way we come to pure chanting. So Prabhupada said it's a gradual process. The other lesson we can learn from this pastime is if someone tries to approach Krishna without going through parampara, the proper line of disciplic succession, it takes many births. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam janmayante, jnanam prapadyante, vasudeva savisa mahatma sudalabha. After many births and deaths, one who is wise gradually understands who I am. So that's after many births that happens. And Prabhupada comments in the Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, he says, those who are too sensual or not austere, even those who may be into following Vedic principles, but if they don't open to Krishna's instructions, they cannot get Krishna's mercy. So, that was one of the differences between Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. Krishna in the beginning says, surrender, then I'll give you protection. But Lord Chaitanya is saying, just chant Hare Krishna and perfection will come. So we can see the difference how and the other thing is with Lord Chaitanya is that even if you may not be completely pure, but if you take to his mercy, then purity will run after you. Because Lord Chaitanya is known as Prema Purushottam. He's giving Krishna's mercy, he's giving Krishna Prem to everyone. Whereas Krishna is known as Marida Purushottam. Prema Purushottam. He's showing how he is God. Lord Ram is Marida Purushottam. He's showing a line of righteousness. Perfect leader. So, and the other thing is, when the wives of the Brahmanas, they came to Krishna and they saw Krishna and Balaram, they didn't want to go back to their husbands because they thought surrender to Krishna is the final goal, we don't need to go back, goal is achieved. But Krishna, being sensitive to the society at that time, said that your wives are Brahmanas, and if you come to me like this, society may not accept it, they may not. In society, people are attached to their rituals and regulations. And Krishna said, better you go back, and in the future you can come to me. at this point, your husband needs your support, you should go and support them. And the Prabhupada makes another comment in the Krishna book. He says the same point. Kiba vipra kiba ne shudra kene he Krishna se guru haya. That it doesn't matter what level of society you're in, whether Brahmana, Sudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, but if you have the knowledge of Krishna consciousness, you're qualified to be a teacher. So it's based on qualification. It's not based on birth. Like, for example, the wives of the Brahmanas, they were advanced because they fully surrendered to Krishna. So that qualified them to help their husbands in Krishna consciousness. So Krishna gives the same advice in Bhagavad Gita. Mami patavi pasita sesu papayonaya siyo vasya suddham param yeti param gatim. That whether you're low-born, woman, Vaishya, Shudra, it doesn't matter. If you surrender to me, then you can achieve perfection. Because from Krishna's point of view, he just sees your devotion. He doesn't see the externals. Externals are secondary. And we see this in the life of the acharyas. You see the pictures here? On top, you see the pictures? Yeah. So, Gokishadas Babuji Maharaj, he's in the, after Bhaktivedanta Thakur. So, at some point, he took the renounced sword, he became a Babaji, and he was chanting Hare Krishna all the time. He was living a very simple life, but he left a light of purity. He was so austere that he only soaked rice. At some point he lost his eyesight as well. He wasn't attached to the body. But Krishna gave him vision how to get on in life, and he lived up to 100 or something. But he had so much purity behind him. He had a disciple like Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, who chanted 1 billion names of Hare Krishna in Mayapur, where there was just forest. And he set the line of purity to spread Krishna consciousness in the world, who told Srila Prabhupada to spread the mission in the Western world. So we can see from this point of view how simplicity is the way. Simple living, high thinking. If you have simplicity, humility is there. Modern day education doesn't teach that. They don't teach about that. They advocate you have to be scholarly, know computers, you have to know certain subjects, otherwise you can't fit in society. Whereas in Krishna consciousness, it's the other way around. Prabhupada gave an example. He said, in Krishna consciousness, he explained like this. He said, to be a judge, it takes long years of study. It's not like all of a sudden you become a judge. It takes many years of study. In Krishna consciousness, you're put in a position of, you're put in the seat of a judge, and then you're given the qualifications. That's Krishna consciousness. Only thing is, you have to maintain your purity and simplicity. Then all the qualifications will come to you. So that's Krishna's mercy. Prabhupada said in his lecture, 2.1 Bhagavad Gita, today he was mentioned, well, I heard a lecture anyway, you can get it on YouTube, it's called Desire Tree, the first lecture. Prabhupada said, people want to merge into God, or they want to become Krishna, but that's not so glorious. You can never do that. But to become Krishna's commander is glorious. And the example is even Arjun. Arjun was on the chariot and Krishna was driving the chariot, isn't it? That's glorious. Generally, people like to see God as the Almighty Father. But Prabhupada said it's more glorious to worship Krishna as a son, because the son, you have to offer everything to him. You have to look after him. With the father, you are demanding so many things. So like this, in this way, we can see this pastime of the Damodar Lila. In that sense, is showing an example how Mother Yashoda had to look after Krishna. She had to serve him. She had to make sure he didn't get into trouble. And also there's another, with his wives was Brahmanas, there's another instance how after the wives went back, all their houses were decorated, jewels and ornaments, jewels and gold, it was decorated. This is mentioned in Gopal Champu by Jiva Goswami, mentions like this. So that shows how Krishna rewarded the Brahmanas. Just the fact that they had devotee wives, the Brahmanas got rewarded. And the example Prabhupada gives, if you have one good son in the family, the whole family is benefited. If you have one bad son, the whole family gets degraded like that. So, having one devotee in the family, the whole family gets glorified. And there's another lesson to learn from this pastime is that those who do karma kanda activities, they're afraid of approaching Krishna without, like in the example of these Brahmanas, after the wives came back, they wanted to actually go and apologize to Krishna. They said, what we did was wrong, it wasn't correct. They condemned the activities. They said, we condemn our activities of doing all these rituals and sacrifices, and they have no meaning without pleasing Krishna. Actually, they recognized who Krishna was afterwards. They said, actually, he came to us not for himself. He actually did this pastime to bless us, actually, to make us realize what we were doing was not correct. So you see that in a society, it's just the way things are, where because the material world is governed by the three modes of nature: goodness, passion, ignorance. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, he says, those who surrender unto me, those who follow my instructions become glorious. And Prabhupada comments in the purport, he says, those who don't surrender to Krishna's instructions, they get governed by the three modes of nature, which they were governed by in the previous time. Whatever modes of nature they were affected by, they get affected by those modes. So Prabhupada makes it clear. He says, the living entity, he's got minute independence. He can surrender to Krishna or surrender to Maya. So you have a choice, whether you want to embrace the modes of nature or you want to embrace Krishna's teachings. So Prabhupada says surrender can happen in 1 second or it can take millions of lifetimes. It's a matter of accepting the reality of what the teachings are giving you. So the beginning is you associate with devotees. The association of devotees, and you take to the practice of chanting Hare Krishna. You learn the practice how to chant Hare Krishna. You you hear about Krishna more and more. In this faith, your faith in Krishna will become strong. And you take to the chanting of Hare Krishna. And then in this way you come to the stage of Nishta, firm faith. So first is faith, then Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees, Anartha Nivriti, where the unwanted anarthas are coming out of the heart, conditioned nature is coming out. Then Nishta, firm faith, where your faith is not shaken. And then Ruchi means taste, Ashakti means attachment. Then Bhava means primary love for God becomes strong, and Prema means perfection. So, by taking to this process of sadhana bhakti, where you try and come for the morning program, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 Mangalarti, you slowly give your way in this way, take to the practice. Even if one cannot do immediately, slowly he practices in this way. Comes once a week, once a month, whatever he can do, you practice. And then in this way, you become spiritually strong. You get to that, used to that way of life. Because you see, in the material world, everything you have will fall away from you in time. You cannot hold on to anything in this world. Family will leave you at some point. The relatives will die. You feel lonely at some point. You'll be lamenting about your lost ones, wealth being taken away. Like in next year and coming up, so many things will happen in terms of the society falling apart. But if you take to Krishna consciousness, these things will not affect us. Because he says, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they've come to destroy the 5 kinds of ignorances of all living entities. So one is to identify with the body. 2 is to think that sense gratification is the end of enjoyment. 3 is lamentation. 4 is material identification. Fame, wealth, beauty, or material identification. And 5 is thinking there is something higher than the absolute truth. So, if you pray to God Nitya in this way to help us overcome these 5 kinds of ignorances, then even if difficult times come, you won't be disturbed. Because you know they're looking after you. Prabhupada gives an example. He says, if you know your father is a multi-billionaire, if you have a friend who's a multi-billionaire, and with a click of his fingers, all your problems are gone. Who would not like to have a friend like that? Anyone would like to have a friend like that. But people don't realize that Krishna is that friend. And now he's come as Lord Chaitanya, who is more merciful than Krishna. So I'll ask for questions, any comments, because it's nearly 7 o'clock. Any questions or comments? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like that. So once you get the higher taste, then other things become less and less. Because you understand you're not the body. There's something higher than the body. That's the basic understanding in spiritual life. Your spirit soul. You have nothing to do with this body. The body is temporary, is full of ignorance, and is full of misery. Yeah. Yeah, so that also comes, yeah. Because once you take to spiritual life, your material body starts dissolving. Your material body and subtle body start dissolving. Your spiritual body starts manifesting. So you feel more lighter as well. You don't feel so heavy. And also time goes faster. So when you see time, as you're practicing spiritual, it just goes fast. Because spiritually everything goes fast. On the gross level, everything goes slower. That's the difference. Okay, I'll stop now. 5 more minutes to go, and then because 7 o'clock is the. Get ready for 7 o'clock. Any other questions or comments? Last one. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, we can put things away. Get ready for Dhammadastikam.
Yes, Dhamma, you have to speak in the mic.
Listen, you have to speak in the mic.
Yeah.
Listen.
Dhamma, look.
Everybody have to hear.
Yeah.
Otherwise they don't know what you're singing.
Yeah.
And then everything misses. Okay? So you have to speak in the mic.
Yeah.
Louder enough.
Yes, Dhamma.
Yes,
Speak in the mic. Do you know that you have to play this line twice?
Yeah. What? Yeah.
You speak. Dhamma, get the laminated sheet for me.
Laminate.
Just for me.
Where's that?
Up there, up there.
Translation.
Put that on back. Yeah, you hold this. No, you can't. Open this then, man. You didn't even check it for how many months. Check this out. Open all of them.
Oh, they didn't even open it.
Yeah. Just put that up there.
Yeah.
Just leave it.
Stop. Stop. Namamishwaram Chidanandarupam Lasatkundalam Kulabhajamanam Yashoda Biyulakaladabhamanam Yashoda Biyulakaladabhamanam Param Nishtamadya Tatodrita Gopya Param Nishtamadya Tatodrita Gopya Namamishwaram Sa Chidanandarup Lasatkundalam Gokulabhajamanam Dantamuhunatra Yugmam Rijandam Karamboja Yogamena Satankanadra Muhusvasakam Patri Rekankakanta Muhusvasakam Patri Rekankakanta Stitagrivadamudaram Bhaktivedam Stitagrivadamudaram Bhaktivedam Majantam Akyapayantam Puna premadastam Ratavriti Vande Puna premadastam Ratavriti Vande Namami Swaram Sachidanandam Lasat Kundalam Gokula Brajamanam Varam Deva Mokshamna Moksham Bhadim Vanachaya Vrinaham Vajada Velham Idam Deva Punata Gopala Balam Idam Deva Punata Gopala Balam Sada me manasya virashtakam ganye Sada me manasya virashtakam ganye Namamishwaram Sachidanandarubam Lasat Kundalam Gokula Brajamanam Namadeva Damodaradhyanta Vishnu Prashida Prabodhoka Jalabdi Magnam Kripadrishi Vijayandi Dinambadano Kripadrishi Vijayandi Dinambadano Grihana Shamamashram Medyakadrasya Grihana Shamamashram Medyakadrasya Namami Swaram Sachidanandarubam Lasat Kundalam Gokula Brajamanam Kuvaratma Jobadam Rutivayada Mukti Bhakti Bhajo Chaketa Tata Prema Bhaktim Sakbambemayacha Tata Prema Bhaktim Sakbambemayacha Namokshe Graho Mesti Damodara Namoksajigahamrinamodara Mamishwaram Sachidanandarubam Lasat Kundalam Gopala Brajamanam Namaste Sudam Neta Manipdidam Neta Vedanarayata Vesvasadam Neta Namo Radhikaya Diya Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Diya Priyaya Namo Nanda Leelaya Devaditavyam Namo Nanda Leelaya